I thought that life will be easy. I'll be able to land job real quick, and surprise, surprise, that didn't happen. I struggled a lot. I almost, rock bottom. I, had to do Uber, customer service, car dealership, despite my career in project management, program management. The last, company that I was working for was Cisco in Saudi, and I was doing a big program called Smart City for $180 million worth of budget. And I was very proud of it. And I was thinking, this will help me land a job in Canada as soon as I land. And definitely that didn't happen because I was missing a lot of, learnings, lots of information, a lot of shifts in my mindset and applications. So I reached out for people to coach me and mentor me. And then once I find out my gaps, once I realize, what I'm doing wrong, and I started to apply those learnings, things started to shift, and I was able to come back and work in Canada for Cisco, for Microsoft for 6 years. I worked for PwC, and then I moved to even Canada, so sorry, to the US in Austin, Texas, to work for Indeed.com as a technical program manager for data analytics during 2022 and up to 2024. And then during that period, when I felt the pain, I started to reach out and deliver workshops and support people in different areas, trying to help them with their journey, just to pay back to the community. And alhamdulillah, I was one of the reasons who helped more than 700 people land jobs in the past few years in US and Canada, specifically in the IT, but mostly in the STEM. So that's a little bit about me. I don't want to bother you a lot. So I realized that I have a passion about helping people. So I launched my company, futurecareer.net, and now I'm helping people land jobs in 3 months or less through a specific system that I developed and practice that is very, very organized and makes this journey much less chaotic and more focused, and with also good KPIs to monitor your progress and understand where you're going. So again, those are some of my previous pictures with Cisco. I've taken a lot of awards with Microsoft. I've been a Platinum Club award winner. That is a very tough, award that is only for 200 people in Microsoft, which is 180,000 employees worldwide. And I was one of the people who created a big community of 7,500 employees learning leadership and soft skills in Microsoft. And again, with Indeed, I've delivered some workshops too, and I helped so many communities in the Austin area and around. Thank you so much. Okay, and this is again some of my previous trips and communities. I love to play soccer. I used to make friends. And if you guys can mute, please. And I definitely, would be honored to, help you with your journey as well. So in this slide, I just want to share with you some of the hidden challenges that most job seekers don't see in their journey. Today, we'll only cover one of those hidden challenges, which is the lack of career role selection, which is very, very critical to the journey of anyone who's looking for a job. So many people come to me and say, okay, the market is tough. I'm not able to find a job. I've been applying, and nothing is happening. Nobody's responding to me, and I'm now becoming desperate. My financials are stuck, and I'm not able to land jobs. And I think, there's something wrong with me, and there is nothing wrong with you guys. It's only that the market has shifted since COVID, and there is some new thing that you have to consider, and there's so many new updates that came into the job search journey. So again, those are some of the challenges. Some of you may have some of those challenges currently affecting their journey, or maybe a lot of those challenges. So I would maybe ask you guys if you can share what is the biggest challenge from those lists here that is currently affecting you today. Just put in the chat whatever you think is affecting your journey today. Can you do that real quick, please?
Okay, I'd go first.
Yeah.
So it has not been long since I'm not working, so I decided to take a break, and I didn't quite engaged in this activity of actively searching. But then even to the jobs that I've applied, I think my problem was inadequate resume and LinkedIn optimization, and that requires some focus and some time. So now I started my and shifted my focus to that, and I think without that, it's not going to be effective.
100%. Thank you so much, sister, for sharing this. And I agree with you again. The market has shifted. There is new roles that, you think those roles are totally uh, tough for you and maybe you cannot deliver, but those roles could be exactly what you can deliver. You just need to read the job description and maybe cover those gaps that are not there in the job description that you are not familiar with. So I see in the chat new technologies. Yes, of course, AI and new technologies has disrupted the market. Lack of tailored applications, limited network, 100%, and market changes so fast. Yes, those are one of the reasons that so many folks are affected by in this journey. So again, what we will be covering today is only the lack of clear role selection here. Those other challenges have a different, let's say, applications or different practice to uncover or to resolve. I'm happy to help you with those things. Afterwards, if you want to connect with me, then maybe we can have a one-on-one discussion afterwards on some of your specific challenges, if you will. Okay, moving on. Again, this is just um, a highlight of the biggest challenges. The mindset could be a big challenge. Sometimes you guys, or sometimes job seekers, take a negative mindset. They think I'm not good enough, I'll never be able to land a job, and that's very critical for the job search. Financial stress is another big problem. Resume writing and ATS optimization, interview preparation is a big thing. So many people, unfortunately, start preparing for interview when they get an interview, which is already too late, unfortunately. If you are really serious about your job search journey, you have to take at least 2 months or maybe 1 month very focused in interview preparation in order to succeed in nailing down those offer letters when you get an interview. But if you think you will be ready by the time you get the interview, unfortunately, that will add a lot of stress on you, and the pressure will be high, and your confidence during the interview will be very low. And unfortunately, that will be a sign to the hiring manager not to select you. Okay, I'll move on. Job search is a journey. There is so many things that is very small that could affect your journey. But if you don't focus on your journey from the beginning by identifying the target, which we are trying to resolve here today, this is the main core of this discussion today, is finding the role that you can work on. And the role should be in demand. The role should be something that the market is really looking for. And then only you start updating your resume and LinkedIn and preparing your interviews and checking your gaps and action plan. If I'm speaking too fast, please let me know. If I'm not audible well, please let me know. Again, I just want to make sure that I run through all those information in a short time, but I also want to give you quality to ask questions. Any questions so far? Does make sense? Okay, awesome. So I'll start here with one of the critical 5 steps that I think everybody needs to focus on in order to get their job search journey right. And those 5 steps are very, very critical. And if you guys want to take notes, that's the time to take notes. If you want to get my 5 steps career booster, now to the hands-on piece. So if you want to scan this QR code to get the handout, this is what I'll be sharing, and I'll put the link also in the chat here. So this is the handout that I will start using to show you exactly what to do to find the best role. So there will be multiple tabs here, and there is different ways to to do this. But the best way and the easiest way is to use your resume and copy your resume to ChatGPT and then apply this prompt to ChatGPT in order to get the roles and get some more questions that would help understand more about you and how to find that best role. So I will take a sample resume here, and just for the sake of this exercise, I'll open ChatGPT here, and I'll copy this resume. So this is the first step. Just copy your resume here, and then what I'll do, I'll copy this prompt here, act as a top tier career coach, and then I'll just stop here and then paste this, and then this will start asking me some questions about my current role, or again, based on this resume, then what I will do afterwards is defining exactly once you provide these details. So what I will do now is, again, once you do this on your own resume, you will start answering some questions. So one of those questions will be the salary goal. What is your target salary range for the roles you are considering? So I'll just say here salary. Let's say I want to have 150 Canadian per year. Okay, CAD per year. Okay, and then the next question, are you open to remote roles, or do you prefer positions in specific geographic regions, Houston, Toronto? So I'll say I am open to remote and Ottawa, Canada. Okay, and then I'll just say here, what are the industries to focus on a particular industry? Tech, data science, analytics. Are you open to various industries? So I'll say I prefer um, professional services, consulting, industry, and software and tech. And then I'll just go afterwards and see what is the last question here. So every time I answer, ChatGPT starts to work on those answers and immediately propose some plans for me. So let's take the first, again, based on this resume that I shared. The role that are in demand are data analyst, machine learning, data engineer, and those are the wide fits because of my skills in this resume, and those are the salary ranges that I could get from those careers. Will Microsoft Copilot work instead of ChatGPT? Yeah, I think it should work. Definitely Microsoft Copilot and ChatGPT are almost the same right now, but I just use ChatGPT, which is much easier. Everybody, and again, you don't need to pay. This could be a free version. You don't need to pay to get to this prompt or get to this ChatGPT site. So the next step from this prompt is your skills gap analysis. Now, what you need to do is identify if those skills, you have intermediate status, or like you're not really very good or expert in those SQL and data modeling. Maybe this is missing. You don't have this in your resume, so that's why you need to focus on those cloud platform, big data, Airflow, real projects, or GitHub portfolio, business domain knowledge. So those are some of your gaps that you may want to cover for those jobs that you're looking for here, data analyst, machine learning, or data engineer. And then if, let's say, you assume you would like to get a learning roadmap. Now you want to get a learning roadmap in order for you to cover some of those gaps. So ChatGPT again will propose for you some websites and resources that will help you improve those kind of, let's see here. This is open link. So this is a website that would help you with SQL tutorial. So as you can see here, this prompt will help you with so many details in order for you to start really focus on those gaps and get into the mindset of landing those gaps that is missing for you to land that role. So what are the companies that is hiring in Canada? Because again, I asked about Canada and Ottawa, so tech and consulting. So those are some of the companies that I should focus on. And retail, e-commerce, Loblaws, Canadian Tire. So again, this is mainly for Canada and my region. But when you guys put this for your city and location, it will show different companies that you can start looking into for your location. And then once you have at least that view, then what you need to do is prepare for yourself for a weekly routine. If you treat your job search as loosely as as you are just doing it on a side, 2 hours here and there, that's not gonna work. Unfortunately, job search is almost like a full-time job. If you don't treat it seriously and you don't put the time and effort, then unfortunately, you will take more time to land a job. And the competition is so high today that everybody is eager to come back to their jobs. So if you don't have a routine for yourself, if you don't start building that momentum or muscle of landing the job and preparing yourself for the interviews, preparing yourself for the gaps in terms of again skills or certifications, then meeting people as well, that's one of the things that you definitely need to do. Attending webinars like today, learning 1 hour, reflecting and journaling, and using tools to help you. Like there is a website called hunter.co, teal hq, jobscan. But again, I prefer ChatGPT now to help you with some of those automations. You can do that yourself and learn more about how can you reduce the manual work that you're doing during your job search. And then ChatGPT also will share with you some of the top influencers that you need to follow in your field. So Kenji is a data science career insights. So I can just now go to YouTube, for example, and see who's Kenji. Let's see here, Kenji Data Science, and then it will propose for me that person, and it seems like that's a good resource for me to help me with data science, ML, AI workshops, and other topics that could help me get advanced in my profession or my role. So again, definitely those um, proposals are made because of my resume and also the way I answered the questions in the prompt. Does that make sense so far? Apologize if I spoke very fast, but is this clear for you guys? Um, are you able to follow along here, or is this too fast for you? Good?
Yes, it's perfect.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So, again, bonus ways to give back or stay grounded. Join AI Data Career Discords. There is, again, if you are in Discord, you can find this channel and try to join it. Help beginners on LinkedIn or Reddit with resume reviews. Offer free tutoring to high school or university students in data basics. Those are some few things that you could do in order for you to get visible on LinkedIn and also share your work. Again, like what I'm doing today with you guys, when I share this to LinkedIn, I'll become visible. And if you do the same thing in your field and spread your wisdom to others, that's where also you will get popular. People will recommend you, people will refer you, people will, share that this person is a good person. I really trust them, and I would love to help them somehow back. So I think that's mostly what I have for today. I will now, come back here to this and see if you have any questions or if you want me to redo this ChatGPT prompt on someone here, I'm happy to do it. Otherwise, I'll open up for questions. I'll stop sharing my screen and see if you guys have any questions to me. I'm happy to answer.
Ahmed, let me start. This is Dr. Abdulhamid Morsi from ISGH Job Networking. First of all, thank you so much. Really, I know that the new era of the AI, we are all learning from or drinking from the fire hose, as they say. But let me ask you a question from personal experience. Do you have any preference whether to use ChatGPT versus Gemini versus the co-pilot? Like any personal input on that? Some people they also should. Do you recommend that we go for the paid versions for these? Would it make any difference?
I personally use ChatGPT, and again, I don't think there is any difference between most of those models. But if you're comfortable with one model, just use it, keep using it, because again, you get familiar with it, you get more, let's say, hands-on to help yourself. But I don't think there is a big difference between ChatGPT, Gemini, or Copilot. They are mostly having the same source at the end, and they run the same kind of models at the end. So I don't prefer that you invest unless there is some feature that you definitely think are needed for you. I use the free version. So again, I don't feel like anyone needs to invest more unless, again, sometimes ChatGPT or those platforms put some constraints or restrictions. If you're using it a lot, then maybe it's time to pay because they will limit you after some time during the day.
Yes. Another question. So the based of what I heard from you today, so that means the manual work that we used to do and how we used to write our resumes and fix it, you don't recommend that at all.
Uh, so writing the resume is a mix of both. You definitely need to use the tools like ChatGPT and others, but you still need to have the human touch to check what you're saying in the resume is really something that you can defend, and it's also aligning to the job description. So again, I personally use ChatGPT with my clients to uh, tailor their resume through ChatGPT, but after tailoring it to through ChatGPT, they need to read it. They need to check if it makes sense, if it's really not is exaggerating a lot. Because if I go to an interview and I ask someone who wrote the resume through ChatGPT, can you explain this line? And they cannot explain that line, then that's embarrassing. That's not a good sign. So definitely use ChatGPT to help you reward it in a way that pass the ATS. And again, I have a workshop around this that I can deliver with ISGH maybe next month if we work on that, Dr. Hamid, together
Yes.
to share more details about this.
Sure. So I see more questions coming from the floor. Abdullah, can you start with your question, please? Abdullah Kurdi, go ahead. You are
Abdullah,
unmuted. Okay, so Brother Sharif Jilani, can you start with your question?
Of course, I'm open to camera as well. So I wanted to, fantastic session, really appreciate that. But I think we missed out the cover letter portion. I'm a very strong proponent of
Brother
having a
Sharif,
cover
your
letter.
voice, your voice is muffled. We can't hear you.
Um, what if I
Yes,
can do?
we
Uh,
cannot hear you. You know what? Post it on the chat because literally we cannot
okay,
understand what you're saying.
okay. So basically, the message I sent in the chat itself that we have not talked about cover letters.
yeah, for the cover letter. Yes. So again, for the cover letter, I think if I understand your question, definitely if there is a need to do a cover letter, you also can do this through ChatGPT, but still also you need to read it. You need to make it very, very focused and crisp and with alignment to the problem that you're trying to solve. So just in a very high level, most companies, when they are hiring, they have a problem they want to solve through hiring. Your success in this journey is to discover what exactly the problem that they are trying to solve, and show a proof that you are the solution for this problem by showing again how did you solve this problem before in other companies or other projects or other situations. That's how you will do that. Cover letter is a very focused, maybe 5 lines, 6 lines max, or let's say 7 lines, that you present yourself in the way that is aligned to the job description. So again, some people use the cover letter to speak about themselves. They speak about, their history, and that sometimes become noise. It's not needed. You need to focus on the problem that this company is trying to solve by hiring, and align it to what you've been doing previously, during your career. Does that answer your question, Brother Sharif?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, awesome. Who else?
Also, I want to comment something on the for everyone, Ahmed, if you will allow me.
Yeah,
So,
please.
team, I really want to refer you to the our channel on the YouTube, because we have so many videos about how to write your LinkedIn profile and how to write your resumes. Ahmed did a couple of videos for us. So please don't start from scratch. Search for these videos, and again, reach out directly to me or to Ahmed. And remember, the purpose of this session is that we are just scratching the surface of AI tools, but definitely there will be more sessions to come that we will go, dig deep into LinkedIn, dig deep into the cover letter, and into the resume. Ahmed, I noticed that not every company require cover letters from personal experience. Actually, very few now they ask you for a cover letter and other documents. Mostly they recommend for they recommend the resume only. But let me ask you, Ahmed, if everybody now the average application uh, per job that I see on LinkedIn, again based on what I see personally, we talk about 400 to 500 applicant for a job. What would make my resume stand out if everybody is using ChatGPT?
That's a good question, but again, so many people use ChatGPT, but they use it in a wrong way. So again, the way to stand out is to make sure that your resume does not have noise, and it's also really tailored to the job description. So whatever output of the ChatGPT, you need to read it and make sure that it's not exaggerating, and it's speaking with numbers, because again, ChatGPT can give you a very generic resume without numbers, but you definitely need to add numbers in your achievements in the resume. So if you are, I give an example real quick here. If you're saying I'm a very good in communication skills, what does this tell me? Nothing, right? But if you tell me that you've been delivering 5 reports to 3 managers in a weekly basis, and with 5 KPIs that you're monitoring through the interval of 6 months, that tells me a lot about your communication skills and tells me a lot about how you're handling some of those communication situations. So again, when you do your resume through ChatGPT, it does not mean that everybody is doing it right. If you don't really master how to use ChatGPT and use the prompts in a way that would help make your resume fit the filters or the ATS keywords in the job description, then unfortunately, then you will not pass the ATS. And then accordingly, those 400 people could end up by only 5 people, or sometimes no one is really matching the job. So don't feel discouraged if you see 400 people applying to the job. That does not mean that those 400 people are really a good fit for the job. Some of them are just noise. They are just applying, easy apply, easy apply, easy apply, which is a big scam, unfortunately. That doesn't really help, because if you're not tailoring, then you will be filtered out. You will get that automated email that everybody gets. So there is a question in the chat, about share some resume templates for experienced finance professional. Okay, I don't do like that. Normally I can show you how to make a good resume, and I can send you the resume template that I have, but I feel the best way to do this is to try yourself and work on your resume yourself the way it should be, based again on the resume template that I shared in the slide. I'll share the link to the resume template here again.
So we have a question from Hudhaifa. Hudhaifa, can you start, please?
Yeah, go ahead, Jose.
Yes. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we
we can.
can.
Okay, so my question basically is about the ATS screening system related to our resume. So far, I've changed and uh, made changes to my resume for so many times, and I just keep getting these generic emails back. I have those emails memorized at this point, and unfortunately, we regret to inform you whatever they go. So, is there a
So is
way
there a
to
way to
kind of figure
kind of
out what I'm doing wrong with my resume, maybe?
Yeah. So it's hard for me to tell you now when I'm not seeing your resume, but it could have so many things.
so many things,
One
one
one of the things is your format. If your format is not an ATS friendly, then unfortunately some of the inputs that you're putting there is not going to be read. So if you're putting logos, if you're putting pictures, if you're putting tables, if you're putting side margins, ATS is a software and it has multiple versions. So some of the legacy ATS versions does not read logos or pictures or tables or side margins. So whenever you send your resume, it's gonna get corrupted through that software, and then accordingly, it's not gonna pass. So if you want help, just let's sit together sometime. I'll send you a free consultation link that you can book with me, and then we can go through your specific case.
Sounds good. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. You're
Ahmed, I
welcome.
have a question. With what is going on around us in North America and economy and the whole world, do you see that the job market is going to open, or it's going to the wrong direction, or what's your personal vision for what's going to happen in the next 2 quarters in 2025?
Good question. Good question. Yeah. No, I think the job market is gonna come back slowly, but not like before. You cannot expect it to open up exactly the same way it was during COVID or before. Again, for tech people specifically, we had a ton of opportunities. So this slowness is definitely affected by the political situation, recession, and everything happening with tariffs and the whole world. So, but I want to tell people, because I don't want you guys to take a negative impression. There are jobs and there are companies who are hiring today, and they are suffering to find people like you. So I don't want you to leave your mind or brain to those negative energy, social media and news that you will never find a job. That's not true. It's just the homework to find a job is much bigger today, and it's much longer. It needs a lot of stamina, lots of persistence, and a ton of networking. So what I also want to say to everybody, that 80% of jobs are not advertised. So whatever you're seeing out there is only 20%. The rest of 80% are mostly companies are finding through referrals. So if you are really serious about getting a job, you definitely need to do a lot of FaceTime and network with people who are decision makers in those companies, so that they know you, they trust you, they know that you are the right person to solve their problems. If you just think that sitting at home and applying online will help you land a job, unfortunately, you're wrong. That's the chances of finding a job online from that kind of practice is less than 10% today. So if you're really serious about landing a job, you need to speak to people. You need to be visible. You need to show in camera in a workshop like this. You need to be visible. People, if I see just names and I don't recognize the faces, then how would I remember those people when they come back to me and say, "Oh, I met you maybe one day on this webinar or that." So that's one of the things that you guys need to, practice, and it's a muscle. I'm not saying that you have to, do everything today. It's a muscle that you have to keep practicing and learning, exactly like the interview. So many people, unfortunately, again, they tell me I'm not having interviews, and I don't prepare for interviews unless I get an interview, and that's wrong, because when you have an interview, that's too short notice. Even if it's a week time, it's very short. It will pass quickly, and you will be stressed. You will be, desperate, and then your confidence level will go down. And when you show up, then unfortunately, people will not think that you are the right candidate. So if you're really, really serious about landing a job, start doing all the items that I spoke about in the journey in order to land that job. Sorry if I took longer
No,
answering
no,
this.
actually, Ahmed, I really want to second on what you're saying. Guys, let me tell you something. Resume is just one tool, cover letter, another tool. But the most important thing is what Ahmed said is networking. That's the reason why we started job networking here in the greater city of Houston, so we can network together. As we speak today, we have over than 5,000 people joined in the greater city of Houston. If you live in the zip code that starts with 77, please make sure that you register in one of our forms. Go to isgh.org/networking. Again, isgh.org/networking, and sign up there. Sign up there so you can network with those 5,000 people. Otherwise, as Ahmed said, your chances are less than 10%. The way it works now is that if you are interested, let's say to work for a company like Google, instead of just go to Google career website, you search who works for Google and ask them, I am interested in that job, can you do an internal referral for me? That would definitely help you a lot. And there are many other tips and skills that you can use there, but resume in itself is not enough.
Cool. I think there's another question in the chat. What's the best way to prepare for an interview before the interview is scheduled? That's a good question. So there are some basic questions that everybody need to prepare before the interview. I'll give you some of those questions real quick here, and then accordingly, each question has a specific format to answer, and it's not like one size fits all. The answer will be different from a company to a company and a role to a role. So I'll give you some of those questions that you definitely need to prepare for. The first one is, tell me about yourself. So many people, unfortunately, they think it's an easy question, but they ramble answering that question. So many people are not able to answer, why should we hire you? If you don't have a clear answer to that question before the interview, then unfortunately you will not be able to convince them. If you think yourself that you're not convinced how to convince them of why you are the right person, why you're the best fit for this role, it's going to be hard for you to make them match with you. Another question, tell me about a time when you failed. Tell me about your greatest weakness. Tell me about um, Tell me about the time when you, improved a process. Tell me, how do you use AI to automate your work, or to make your work productive? That's a new question that, most companies today is asking. How are you using AI to be productive, to be efficient? Because again, they don't want someone who's just outdated, someone who's just still using those tools that are already gone. And those are some of the basic questions. Again, those are just basic questions for you guys to prepare for even before the interview. Those questions alone will take you some time to practice and be able to have the vibe, the tone, the energy, the posture, and everything else in order for you to convince the hiring manager that you are the right fit for the job. I hope this answered your question. Any follow-up, Maz? Good? Okay. Abdullah, could you please share the link to the forum? Okay, that's a question for you, Dr. Abdulhamid. Can you share the link for the forum
Yeah, I
in the
did.
chat? Yeah,
I
okay.
just did.
Thank you.
And, and in order to conclude, I really want to thank you, Ahmed, for the such an inspiring presentation. I know that this is just the beginning. We're scratching the surface of AI. I see a question that's coming from MTS. MTS, you have a question? Go ahead. Unmute yourself, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum
Alaikum
assalam, ya
salam.
brother.
Yeah, I'm just want to know your thoughts about if someone is trying to get into IT after 20 years working in other field. So how to overcome, like how to get motivated, plus what should be the strategy for the person who had worked in the different industry for around 20 years, and how to deal with the age related issues like 40 plus. So you are just beginner, all those things.
Good question. So let me divide those questions. I'll start maybe by answering the age question first, and then I'll move to the other one. So ageism is there. Like some companies don't like to hire old folks like me, and those who are really senior. So I don't like when people put so many informations in their resume and LinkedIn that would make people conclude about your age. That's something that you should avoid. So your graduation year, you definitely don't put that, because again, if your graduation year will make me understand real quick, like if you're 1998 like me, oh, then he's almost 50. Then I don't need those old guys. So if you can avoid those kind of information in your resume and LinkedIn to avoid calculating your age, then that's one of the ways to avoid the ageism. On the other side, if your value is much higher and you can prove that you can deliver value to the company and impact, then ageism will not be a problem for you. Okay, so I'll answer the first part of the question, which is you've been doing something else and you want to move to IT because you think IT is going to help you. What I'm telling you that most IT folks are already suffering today to find a job. So, and you will not be in a good situation to compete with someone who's been doing the same job for 20 years. So, if you want to crack a job, I would not recommend that you move to IT if you're desperate